I'll keep an eye on the chat if there's any questions from people coming in. Keep an eye on the chat if there's any questions from people coming in. Let's just mute me off. Brilliant, excellent. We are live in the group. Welcome everyone. Happy Friday morning. I'm struggling to remember the days this week. It's a bit of a blur, but welcome, Friday morning. And if you're watching this, give us a thumbs up. If you're listening to this on the podcast, please make sure you leave us a review and share it with your friends. So welcome. We are joined by Fern and Sarah from the iPet network. Welcome to you both. How are you doing?
Hey, yeah, very well, thank you.
Great. And you're at home, Fern. You're on holiday, Sarah, is that right?
Yeah, you can call it holiday. No, we're not. nice and busy as always in the iPet network world.
Nice. So you've been around longer than I have. So I wanted to bring you into the onto the group and into the podcast to learn a little bit about iPet and how it's grown over the years. So what year was iPet brought into fruition? When did you start it?
I just feel I need to say I've not been around as long as you, Bill. There was a lot of love. yeah, just in the animal world maybe. But so iPet actually came into being in 2020 as an awarding organisation. But prior to that, iPet Network was a group of training providers, and we worked with another awarding organisation. And prior to that, Sarah and I have both got 4 Paws Groom Schools, which are training schools. So there's been a journey for us across different sectors to get to where we are now with iPet Network.
Cool. And so what brought you into the animal industry, the pet grooming world?
Again, for me, I came from a very commercial type of background, HR, quality assurance, training, and again, I think anybody that's in this industry always has a passion from a young age into dogs and welfare. And again, I can remember when I was literally like 6, 7, I didn't have boy posters on or take that posters. I had pictures of dogs and whatever else. So again, for me, I had a fantastic opportunity, had enough of the commercial world, always been interested in dogs, always done stuff in the background, and they've got different training qualifications in animals and stuff like that. But again, you need to pay the bills. And then I was fortunate to be able to say, like, I've had enough. I'm coming out of the commercial world, and met Fern, and I think that was 7 years ago. And as they say, the rest is history. We just clicked and had a fortunate opportunity to go in and work as a tutor, and then we just gelled and said we can do this better. And that's what we've been doing ever since, really. Just
my personal journey was a bit earlier than that. I think that at the grand old age of 23, I decided I wasn't working for the man anymore, and it was definitely going to be a girl's world. I actually had, I think, a familiar story for a lot of people is I had the dog that changed my life, and that is a big one. I think that a lot of people have that. Always grown up on a farm. We've always had dogs, family dogs, but it's very, very different when you have that dog which is yours. And I went through a tough time personally. I moved into my own house, and after a relationship breakdown, and I got this dog, and she was just wonderful, and I just wanted to spend all my time with her. So that meant really, well, I need to make a change, and I actually went to see a doggy daycare centre for her to go to, because I had a good job at the time. I was working in marketing, that's my background, and I thought, well, I went to see this doggy daycare centre, and I was like, gosh, I could do that. And from a family point of view, went back to the family farm and started this doggy daycare centre, which then evolved quite rapidly into grooming and into sort of other services, dog walking. We had a pet taxi, lots of different things. Worked really sort of across all the services. Grooming probably was the one that has kind of obviously carried us forward the most. And I think that's been brilliant, because actually it's probably quite scalable, which is where what we found with the daycare centre is that you're very much stuck in one location. We had a boarding kennels that you've got to really invest huge amounts to try and set those up in different places. But grooming actually can start from a fairly sort of small acorn to grow, and I think that was absolutely brilliant. And Sarah really was probably one of my game changers. I didn't see myself needing a partner, didn't see myself really, I was quite happy. I was doing whatever I wanted to do, and then Sarah really for me kind of inspired the next step. And actually it was like, right, like Sarah said, as a partnership we are much stronger. What else can we do together? We're very, very different characters, sort of chalk and cheese at times, but we get on brilliantly. Like we're just we laugh because we both have husbands, but also each other, and that's my work wife. To the point where actually it was my actual anniversary this week, and I took out Sarah, and Gordy took them with us as well. So it was like we had a proper team out, and it was lovely. So.
And it's that mixture, isn't it? It's the passion for pets, but then you've got Sarah's commercial background, you've got your marketing background, and when you actually network and bring that mixture of skills and knowledge and experience together, that's what then makes that awesome partnership, isn't it?
Yeah. And again, just thinking about different people like points of view, and I think because we have got so much experience within different type of sectors, again it just brings something that I might have learned 10 years ago, again just brings to the forefront when you're dealing with business. And ultimately, obviously we all love animals, we all love dogs and stuff, but ultimately we're trying to run a successful business as well. So again, it is that continual learning. We always go on a journey. Every week feels like a journey.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things is that things evolve and things have a life cycle as well, which I think is really important to remember, is that it's not a never-ending treadmill. There are points that you have to get off and try something different, which I always find when we have conversations, Bill, that actually that point that people sometimes miss. And actually that you need to make these changes, you need to do something different, and you don't have to stay doing the same thing constantly. It is evolving.
Do the same thing.
It's not a failure. It's an evolving, isn't it? It's a evolution of activity or whatever it may be.
That's it. And I always say, if you do the same thing, you get the same outcomes, or you do the same mistakes. But then I always also say it's only a failure if you carry on. If you fall down but then carry on doing the same thing, then that's obviously like you got to change it up. That's sort of failing, isn't it? But if you don't fail in business unless you just carry on doing the same thing.
And I think that for us, so as we it can be a bit chaotic in our stories sometimes, because there's been so much in, I'm going to say, a relatively short period of time. 15 years I've worked in the animal care sector, which it's it is a long time, but equally not a long time. And in that time that we've actually set up 10 different businesses. We've and I've had 4 children, we've had 5 dogs between us. There's been lots of life things that have kind of happened, but where we are personally now with iPet Network really is a focal point for Sarah and I, which came out of that evolution process. So we worked with another awarding organisation, and if you're not happy about something, then you can try and do it yourselves. And that really was a big thing for us. It took 2 years to get through the off-goal process. So we have our training schools, and we know what people want commercially out of their dog grooming training, but equally what we want as an industry to be able to improve things. And again, I know we're very much on the same page with this, Bill, that we want people to actually build lives that are good out of it as well. So it's great. We all love our dogs, we love our pets, we want the absolute best for them, but equally we want the best for our people as well. And we don't want them to be like earning minimum wage and actually struggling through that, because that isn't the goal here. The goal is to have a good life for everybody. And I think that's where the things that we've done kind of fit really nicely into that. And our kind of key process at the moment is through this education that people can raise their own standards along with the animal welfare standards. And that's a huge part for me.
It's being proud of their careers, isn't it? It's their journey, and being proud of obviously what they put on their CV. And Fern and I always joke, everybody within the iPet team or the 4 Paws team are always doing some sort of qualification. I did a level 2 in data processing and GDPR. It was the most driest subject in the world, but I know that I've got it on my CV, I've ticked the box with the qualification, I've done that study, and that is continuous. Like everybody within the whole of our group of businesses are doing some sort of CPD qualifications, and again, it's that, but it's broadening that scope as well. So again, if you've got the dog grooming qualification, there is so much more that you can do, from business to like GDPR to all sorts of stuff that we do. But again, it's having that constant drive to be able to say, I'm going to better in this subject area or that subject area, and again, it's one of those things that only takes a little something from a qualification or from like CPD or doing your sessions, that actually then a light bulb moment flicks and you think, that is what's going to change. That's what I can do, that's what I can pursue, that's what can improve things. And that's where I suppose we're constantly having those conversations, those networking as part of our strategic objectives for iPet. It's all about networking, it's all about making those connections, because actually those connections will have those light bulb moments and bounce off each other, and thinking, well, actually, are we doing the right things, or are we pursuing the right sort of sector? Are we creating the right qualification for the industry? So it's really important to have those connections and that continued learning, really.
Yeah.
And I think people can bring a lot from looking at your partnership, you know, and they can bring that into their business themselves. And you're right to say, like, iPet network, it's a network. And I really do believe that business shouldn't be done on your own. And I'm not talking about hiring team members, because some people are quite fearful about hiring staff. But even if it's just networking with other business owners, or bringing partners, or, you know, like myself, a mentor or coach, bringing these people into your business just to share ideas, share grumps and grimes with. I went out for coffee earlier with someone talking about business, but it's that networking side of things, isn't it? And your partnership alone like shows how you're stronger together. Like you were saying at the beginning, you're stronger together than you are apart, and you can create marvelous things like the iPet network with it.
Yeah, and I think really with our training providers, so we're very lucky to have the training providers that we have. We're nearly at 100 training providers now across the whole of the UK, Scotland, Ireland, and they're all delivering our qualifications. But actually, what we provide to some of those training providers is that we provide them the opportunities, because any other awarding organisation, that you have to have a certain amount of registrations, you've got to do a certain amount of got to tick a lot of boxes, where what we want to be able to do, and that's probably where our business has flourished really, is providing those opportunities for those smaller training providers that might only put through one student a year. That is absolutely fine, but we provide that support. And then we've got some that put through 200 a year or 300 a year, but again, that support from that network is us as well, is providing, right, okay, what can you do? We'll support as say a small training provider of, right, how do you market your courses, and what else can you do, what other areas can you infiltrate? And it's having that opportunity for somebody that wants to diversify their business, and actually that those people, we're real. So again, they can talk to us. We've only got a small team, but ultimately we feel like life coaches and business coaches sometimes, to be able to provide that support. But ultimately, that's what makes us different. That's what makes us different to other larger awarding organisations, because someone can pick up the phone and say, right, okay, Sarah, I'm struggling with this. What can we do? People will ring Fern and say, well, okay, how do I market this? And we'll create marketing stuff for our training providers. And again, it's just all of those little smaller things to help everybody succeed, really.
I think the key word there, that obviously from what you just said there, Sarah, is opportunities. I think that being an entrepreneur, that's very much how I see myself, and obviously we've got this fantastic partnership, and it's a lot of, obviously between us, there's a lot of trust of things. If I kind of go off and go, right, I want to go and do this, and then Sarah's like, oh, let's tidy it all up in the background, because again, we are very, very different characters about how we do things. Yeah, absolutely. But those opportunities, I think it's spotting opportunities and being able to embrace them. And I think that people need to be able to give themselves those opportunities. And that's something that, again, feel very, very passionately about, is that sometimes I think that from the dog grooming world, especially if you're a lone groomer, you're working and you see lots of stuff on social media, which is about, oh, go to this seminar, go and do this. And I think that, obviously focusing on your core skill is absolutely essential, because, that's how you make your money. Of course it is. But you've also got to look at them future-proofing yourself. And I think that very few people go through a career for 25, 30 years these days. There is lots of points that, like I said before, exit points, things that change, things that can evolve from that. And I think that people really need to kind of look outside maybe necessarily the bubble that is just dog grooming, to look at those other factors. That we're developing qualifications, but it's really from experiences that other people bring to the table of that. One thing that we do is a puppy socialization course, for example, and we've got a dog groomer who's recently gone through that and done that qualification, who now is offering these sessions in her dog grooming salon by moving the tables, and she is literally having puppies in the salon. She's got that qualification and she's created a whole new revenue stream, something that's totally outside the norm. And it's really, I'm going to say it's really good, but easy and nice money. So that little bit of socialization, that understanding about the environment, is helping a grooming business. It's growing a current revenue. It's doing everything it needs to do. But people don't necessarily think that I'm a dog groomer, I need to know about puppy socialization. So actually, it's kind of like thinking a little bit more outside the box. And we've got another training provider who has started delivering our responsible dog ownership qualification. And that is actually pulling owners in. So you've got this huge customer base, 200, 300 owners. And by putting a course on in your salon on a Sunday, sometime that, it's not a normal time, actually educating the owners, making your life easier when it comes to grooming. Actually, we're going to talk about what you need to do for your pet, but also the wider things. And you'd be shocked at how many owners don't know, the countryside code and their responsibilities, because actually the legislations are massive around dogs. But actually, even as dog groomers, sometimes we only know the key ones, but there's so much more to it. And actually, that's really interesting. But again, it's a revenue stream. It's something on top. So when we kind of say training providers, often people think of dog grooming schools, maybe bigger setups, and that's not necessarily the case. Actually, you can join the iPet network and be a training provider of smaller qualifications. There's lots of opportunities there, and this is where we want to kind of help those people create those opportunities, because I feel that that's how probably I came into being into this world. I found that because I was a small business, actually accessing opportunities through other organisations was really hard. And I can sort of tip my hat now and say, well, actually, they missed out on somebody like me, and we don't want to do that. We want to embrace people that are willing to do something a little bit different, and again, offer all that support that we can.
Yeah, I remember I went to a grooming show and I did a talk, and it was basically, I'm going to, teach you or speak to you about how to make more money without grooming dogs. And they're like, well, but we're dog groomers. How can we do that? But this is exactly it, isn't it? It's diversification of your business. And when I speak to a lot of pet groomers that are burning out, they're overwhelmed with work, and you say, well, what's your diary look like? And they're like, well, 8 to 10 dogs a day. Grooming, like full grooms, clip offs. I'm like, what about your Labradors? Well, I don't do any Labradors, but they're like an easy bath and brush.
Yeah.
It's not just about clipping off dogs day in, day out. Diversification with like you were just saying, and you've introduced courses that I didn't know you did as well. So it's really useful. But we're now wanting to bring people into this industry to create a career.
Yes.
So, and you're not going to have a career shaving dogs day in, day out.
No.
You're going to burn out, aren't you? You need to have diversification in your business.
And that's really probably where we're at with the dog grooming, taking dog grooming as a centre fold. Really, that is the nucleus of the learning. Everything else, we've got loads of other qualifications, whether it's going into more shampoo, conditioner, skin, coat, hand stripping. You can actually then go on to do a level 4 qualification. We're the only ones in the industry that got a specific level 4 dog grooming qualification. So again, what that opens up, well, actually, it's more about breed standard learning. Actually, then will you bring that quality client in? Will you bring those breeders in? And actually, then you can charge more, because actually you've demonstrated you've got that higher skill level. And again, it is all about, I suppose, putting yourself out there as well. And like Fern and I went to a networking event because we're part of the Chamber's Chamber of Commerce. And again, we met somebody that lived down the road from me, didn't know she existed. She's in to canine and equine hydrotherapy and physiotherapy. She's just launched a brand new app to help sort of the veterinary sector, and it's like, already that was somebody that we didn't even know existed. Literally, she lives 5 doors down the road from me, and there's lots of synergy there, and actually we can help support each other from creating the qualification, her becoming the consultant to be able to consult on the new qualifications. So again, it's putting yourself out there to be able to say, yeah, if I do this, if I do the level 4, for instance, then actually I'm going to have to speak to different people. I'm going to have to speak to different clientele. It opens doors because you've pushed yourself to get there, and again, it can be daunting, and obviously there is monetary value attached to it, but again, I think it's having that bigger picture and thinking, like what can, like you say, in the career paths. We do a lot with apprentices now. We're an endpoint assessment organisation as well for 5 standards, all animal related. But again, in our businesses, from a 4 paws point of view, we've employed apprentices for 15 years. So we want to be able to have that career progression. We want to give, and say we've had a new girl start this week in one of our salons. She's had all of our CPD courses. She'll have access to a lot of resources, and again, it's building that career and that future career. It's not just seen as you're a dog groomer, because actually you've got stuff to do with responsible dog ownership. You've got stuff to do with health and safety. You've got stuff to do with the ins and outs of skin, canine nutrition. And say we've just launched a lovely level 2 canine nutrition course, and it's the fundamentals of stuff. Well, actually, that will give you the confidence to speak to owners, to be able to build that rapport, build that relationship, charge more,
stock some treats that you know something about, that you can actually advise on correctly as to their nutritional value. And it's looking outside your realms. And I think that sometimes, I don't know, even just sitting there, I'm thinking actually that probably just creating that list, like you just said, you didn't know that we did those things. Well, actually, maybe those examples are what we probably need to get out there a little bit more, as to, absolutely, this is what you could do to diversify your business by being a training provider with us. This is our opportunities. But equally, if you study and do on the courses, these are then your opportunities. And I think that just looking a bit further than what's right in front of you. And I very much worry about people who are going to be grooming 10 dogs a day for 20 years. It's I've got a bad back. We were laughing before we came on that I've been camping and stuff, but I know that probably some of that was probably poor lifting of large dogs. It's bound to be. So it's got to be something that you do then look after yourselves.
No, it's right. And diversification will not only, you have a lot of groomers close their books. They have the same customers come in month after month after month, but diversification starts to open your business to all sorts of new people. Like when we added teeth cleaning, for example, to our business, we suddenly started getting lurcher owners coming in. They don't come in for a groom, they just come in for teeth cleaning. So again, it's that diversification opens us up to a new tranche of customers. Cat grooming, new tranche of customers, people you'd never have attracted before. So that, and then you're starting to look at the puppy socialization. That's a whole bunch of customers that you've never come across before, and it just you can probably tell it keeps that excitement going in your business. Your eyes light up because your brain starts thinking, I've got all this, I could do this, I could do that, I could do this.
Absolutely.
Pull you in a bit and say, right, do one thing at a time.
That's Sarah to me, because I'm like, yay.
But you can see probably in my eyes, we could do this, we could do that. And and
absolutely,
it starts to get the cogs turning, which if you've been in grooming dogs for 10 years and you're losing the love for your business, losing the love for your career, and it's a great career to be in. And I was saying this to a groomer the other day who was a bit lost, and I'm like, you've got a skill that you can take worldwide, not just UK wide. Obviously there's a few restrictions now after a certain vote, but you've got a skill that you can take worldwide now. You can go, and we know we've got pet groomers that travel around the world demonstrating grooming and stuff. So, and she was like, I never thought of that. I never thought I had a skill that I could take. It's like plumbing, it's like electricians, it's like all those manual labor skills. You can go worldwide with it. So, the grooming industry is a great industry to be in, but if you're feeling a bit fed up with it, then we need to explore these sort of extras.
Absolutely. And I think that one of the keys there, what you just said about being worldwide. So the difference between iPet Network as an awarding organisation, we are regulated by Ofqual. Now, what we've found, again, coming into this, it was sort of a fresh pair of eyes. Really, each sort of country has their own regulation body who governs their qualifications, and to be able to really transport from country to country, different regulations are sort of required and different things. So actually by having that really does rubber stamp you to go to other places, and we found that some of that sort of travel sector allows for that if you've got a regulated qualification. And we've had a lot of groomers from Hong Kong coming over to train with one of our training providers, because there is, again, a synergy there, but that actually there's a part of a visa process, and again that really kind of opens those doors for doing that. So it's been really, really fascinating to learn that, but also to, like you say, see the opportunities that are out there are just huge, absolutely huge.
And again, we've currently got at our Four Paws school a lady from Tunisia who's travelled from Tunisia to come and train to get, and they say we've got the cat grooming qualifications. We're the only ones that have got the cat grooming qualifications. And say she's flying back at the end of the month, but she's come to us. She's staying over. She's doing the training, and then she's going back to Tunisia to be able to say do those skills
Offer
over
the service. Yeah, absolutely. And
again,
it's somewhere that wouldn't naturally feel that they would have a market for it potentially. I don't know, but clearly it's an upcoming area over there as well.
Imagine that, the UK being the main place to go for pet grooming qualifications and experience. That would be
definitely.
That'd be a feat, wouldn't it?
Yeah, the podcast goes out internationally, so who knows?
Fabulous. Yeah, come on over. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a map, but like where people have come from and stuff. So it's getting there. It's getting there.
Yeah, getting that name out. Brilliant. So obviously, like when I did a podcast with Jason Greystone, and he's very much like you take a subject and you do it better, and you've got a business. So that's very much what you said at the very beginning, wasn't it? You came into the industry, looked at what was going on, and thought, I can make that better. And that is just how business is, isn't it? That's how business grows. So
Definitely.
no, well done to you, and well done for recognizing that entrepreneurial sort of spirit, as it were, going forward. So when people, let's talk about signing up as a training provider with yourself. So there might be people listening to this that are pet groomers and they're interested in opening up a training school. What's the criteria and how do they go about looking at becoming an iPet provider?
Yeah, really, it's 3 steps. It's making sure that each qualification's got an eligibility to deliver, and depending on the subject topic, depends on what the eligibility is. So essentially, you have to be have certain qualifications as well. Yeah, so that might be you have the level 3 diploma in dog grooming if you want to become a tutor in dog grooming, but that you could hold the City and Guild, you could hold OCN, you could hold AIM. It's making sure that the criteria is met. All of our tutors are as a minimum have got the level 3 award in adult education. So again, that's really important for us to actually make sure that the tutors that are on board are achieved or working towards that overall. Again, it's that continued learning, because again, coming in the industry, it's surprising how people that are teaching haven't even got level 3 or they haven't got a sort of an educator's type of qualification, and that's really important for us to understand, for them to understand roles and responsibilities, how people learn, especially in the animal sector as well. And then again, you can have experiences with that as well. So again, as long as you meet those criteria for the qualifications, and this is where we do have training providers that will start with the dog grooming, but ultimately then they'll do the nutrition or with another training provider, or they will do all the qualifications with our network, and actually then obtain that knowledge and then be able to deliver that themselves. So again, there's always, because we've got so many training providers that deliver all the whole range, and so I think we've got nearly 40 qualifications now in total. So everybody can learn from each other in the network, which is really lovely. And then effectively, you have to make sure your policies and procedures are in place. And again, we support, we've got a brilliant EQA team, external quality assurance team, that helps support you through that process. Again, when we first was a training provider, it was like, here's the criteria, you go away and create 30 policies or whatever it was at the time about malpractice, maladministration, appeals processes, etc. So again,
it can be quite overwhelming, really.
Yeah.
And what we try and do is take some of that pain point out of it by actually, you know, offering support around it. Because I think that, again, looking at those opportunities, if you have never done, been a training provider and offered any regulated qualifications, it really is where on earth you start. And I think that that's where, you know, it starts with filling a form out, and then we help you through the rest.
Filling a form out, seeing which qualifications you want to deliver, do your policies and your procedures, and then we do an audit. And again, it is a partnership, and you do come part of the network. And again, we want the students to be safe, and we want the training providers to be safe when they're doing their teaching. So we'll make sure that obviously everybody is covered, and then you're approved. And then we have a real 3 to 6 months sort of induction process in being able to make sure that, because with the systems you need to be trained on, we have an e-portfolio system. Again, I think the key thing that makes us a little bit different than other awarding organisations is that where we can, depending on the subject, but I'd say 95% of them we provide the workbooks, we provide the assessments, we provide the resources. So actually there isn't, because again, this is probably where the standardization and the quality aspect comes in. There's other awarding organisations that will say, this is the qualification criteria, here's the outcomes and the criteria, and then you've got, I don't know, say 60 statements, and then the training provider then has to go and build stuff around to deliver that. So what we try to do is we do create the workbook, so then every learner has got the same question, so then it's hopefully the quality of the answer should be the same. The assessments are very clear, so again, say some other AOs, they say it's up to the training provider to create an assessment, and those assessments could be 4 or 5 different to each awarding organisation, or each training provider, actually, not awarding organisation. So you could go to 4 different training providers and they've all got 4 different assessment methods. So it's like, we provide that assessment method, so it's really clear when you are teaching that you know exactly what is required, and then we provide the resources as well. So this is probably where the qualifications do take us a little bit longer to build, but ultimately we know then the student has got a real solid platform of learning again. But this is when then the training providers bring their own USP element to it, because they can then bring their experience, their education part, what's good and what's bad, and what they've experienced, to be able to improve their delivery of the qualification. So we do say that is real difference to any other awarding organisations. And then we've got the e-portfolio system as well. We all know how difficult it is, or how much it potentially costs to have an e-portfolio system. So again, we have that opportunity, so all of our training providers can use that if they want to, and that just forms part of the package. And again, in addition, we have experienced internal quality assurance, so we employ internal quality assurers. So again, most other awarding organisations will say, you go and find these people that have got professional competence and got the qualification to be able to audit the students' work. Well, we provide that service as well. So again, it is trying to take some of these barriers out for those smaller businesses that have got oodles of experience, but then haven't got the opportunities to be able to become training providers.
And it's knowing that route as well, because I'm listening to all this, and I know exactly how this all works, but I know that from somebody who's a total not novice to the area, it sounds like there's a lot, and there is absolutely a lot, but essentially there's a process that is, the student is the learner, you have your tutor who is your teacher, You then have internal quality assurance who checks the teacher, and you have external quality assurance who checks the checking the teacher, checking the student. And it's a lovely little process like that. But actually what we try and do is that's what makes us different. Like Sarah said, we have these people who are with us, who we are only a small team. People, you know, you get to know who those people are and how they work, and all of the kind of, it really is a partnership. And how we want it to be is that actually we're the most approachable that we can be, and that if you're not sure about something, you can come and ask that question, because it is a lot. You are talking educational pieces which are not just, you know, I've decided I'm just going to tell you all about, you know, how to grow tomato plants. This is regulated. This is from the government, who make sure that what we're doing is good and correct. So it's not I'm going to say it's not hillbilly. There is a process about that. The quality assurance is strong, but that equally makes it something to be extra proud of, because when you've achieved, and I think that sometimes in the industry there's always the do you need to be qualified, all of those kind of questions, but actually the pride in that comes from those levels of quality assurance, and the number of people that have to examine your work to get that diploma in dog grooming is phenomenal. So anybody that has got it has absolutely achieved something which, you know, as an industry we really need to recognize and go that is definitely where it's at. Like with anything, then what practices people do can vary, you know, substantially, but equally it's a starting point for that sort of health and safety measure, but also for that business to grow. We have people that come and train in our training schools who are wanting to be self-employed, they're wanting to start their own businesses, and I feel it would be wrong of us to sort of take the money and say, actually we're going to set you on your way without kind of touching on that business side of things. And that's one of the reasons that we put it into the qualification in the first place. And you know, and it's definitely something that can be expanded on, because there's just so much to cover in such a short amount of time. But the key for me really is that we don't want our students heading out the door saying that, you know, I'm going to groom a dog for 20 quid, because that's not going to get you where you need to be in your life. As we know, the cost of everything is just massive at the moment, and if you've kind of not set your prices, then you need to kind of like look at that again. And I did have that recently, that actually a competitor had taken our price list off one of our grooming salons and put it on their own, and had failed to change the logo, which is always frustrating. But actually, I actually messaged and I kind of said, you know, the prices are the prices, but are they your prices? Because you've got to look at what your overheads are and how things are for you, and not potentially look too much at what those are doing around you. Because I think that's sometimes people can fall in that rut of, I see it all the time, how much are you charging for a cockapoo? No, that's not how you work it out. You know, and I know, Bill, that's one of yours as well. But you know, we want to try and tackle that in, you know, from the start, really, to make sure that people are heading out, if they're doing those qualifications, that they are fully equipped, not only with the skill to groom, but also then to actually, you know, start operating the business, but also signposted to the right people. So I'm going to give you a shout out there, Bill, because I do think I read your little strap line before we came on about, you know, changing the dog grooming industry one business at a time. Love that, because I think that there's so much that can be done to really help people.
Yeah, and top tip here, anyone that's starting out, try and find one of my clients and copy their prices.
That's how you do it. Yeah, whatever you think it is, double it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're shocked. We're like, oh my God, they charge how much? Yeah, it is, you know, £20 grooms are not going to make for a stable or sustaining career, unfortunately. Yeah. But, you know, what kind of qualities, if someone approached you and said, right, I've been grooming for 5 years, I'm really interested in becoming a training school, what kind of qualities would you sort of say they need or looking to develop within themselves to be able to teach people? Because dog grooming's hard, teaching people
patience.
Bloody hard, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely patience. And again, it comes with the passion. If you've got somebody within the industry and that's what they want to be able to do, they want to become good educators and have that passion in the industry, share their knowledge. It is key for me. And obviously the qualifications that has to back that up, but ultimately, yeah, it's patience. It's wanting the best for the industry, because we all want the best for the industry, and I think
I'm going to say compassion and realization, like reality checks on things, because I think that sometimes it can be quite, they've just got their qualification and they're doing this and it's not good enough or whatever. But I think that actually you've got to appreciate that everybody has to start somewhere. And I think that for me is having that compassion, that empathy for people as well as animals, because the people who start to, want to train to do any new skill, whether that is dog grooming or whether that is learning about, owning a dog, whatever that is it's understanding that person is putting themselves out there and that they're there because they want to do better. So I think that having that compassion to actually support that person, and people will all be at different levels, and I think that's sometimes I say that reality check that actually people's skill levels are very, very different. So I think that definitely for those things. But I think that as an educator, like Sarah just said, that if you have that passion for it and you want things to be better, you will not only invest in other people, but you'll also invest in yourself with those skills too.
Yeah, it's developing yourself, isn't it, as a trainer? And I've got some clients who have recently become first-time employers and have gone down the apprenticeship route, and they've come to me and said, oh, they don't know how to do this, that, and the other. And it's like, it's just about lowering that expectation a bit. It's like they're young apprentices. You're there to sort of teach them all of this, and that's the role of the apprenticeship. So you just got to lower that expectation a little bit and start from the bottom and work the way up.
And I think that even just when you just said their life skills, that's something that that it doesn't spell it out in the apprenticeship standard, but what you're actually going to be doing as an employer is really showing that person those life skills of actually the consequence if you don't turn up on time. There isn't really a consequence in school. You might get a bad mark. It's not real, but actually if you've then got clients waiting at your door and you're 10 minutes late, well, you've lost your client and that's your revenue for the day. Then teaching those life skills down to even I'm doing it with my kids at the moment. Money is becoming such a thing of the past that actually I am having to go through and teach them change to actually show them what the coins are, because even as an 11-year-old, she's got a debit card that she taps, and that doesn't work. Again, when you're going to be going and getting your Saturday job, serving ice cream or doing whatever you're doing, then you need to be able to do those things. And I think that the apprenticeship, like you say, needs to, the expectation is a brilliant word for it, because you are setting that person up for their life. Their life may not be grooming, but I think that's where I'm personally very proud that I've employed over 100 apprentices in the last 15 years. And, and some of those have gone on to carry on working with animals, some of them haven't, but hopefully been a very strong positive influence in their lives in that period, and that they've taken something out of it which they can carry forward.
Yeah, definitely. And so passion, patience, empathy, and reality checks.
Yeah.
And honesty as well. You've got to be, I suppose you've got to be happy to say to people, look, you're not doing this right.
Well, yeah, and I've literally just had a conversation this morning with one of our tutors, and it is that honesty at that point. There's no point the students getting to day 25, day 30, and they can't pass the assessments, and that's probably one key from a four-pause point of view, the quality. Obviously, your name is attached to that person leaving in that industry, and that should hold a place of pride. But it's having that honest conversation right early doors at like day 5, day 10, having that consistency, having those reviews, having that, right, how do you feel like you're getting on? Because it is difficult. It is difficult having those difficult conversations and having those honest conversations, but ultimately that is going to help them progress further. We need to identify those learning issues. There might just be a different way that element needs to be taught, and that's really from an educator point of view is understanding those variances, because not everybody learns the same. And so we always in our other school is always laugh and just say the penny drops at a certain particular day.
Mm-hmm.
The penny does drop, but we need to make sure that we're giving them the guidance at that point. But say, being honest, if they're not at that level, but what can we do? And here are the solutions, because there's always solutions. And that might be getting more experience to go into a rescue centre, or go and work in industry, or just do some more training, because it only takes a few more days or whatever else for that something just to go, I get it now. And again, it is a new skill, right away from younger apprentices up to people that are changing career. We have lots of nurses, teachers, police come to four-pause, and it's a whole new learning experience. So whether you're 55 or 60, and again, it's even getting to grips with the IT. Everything is a school day every day for all of us. And say, I'm just writing a pet bereavement PDR course, and it's like every day is a school day. I'm learning about stuff all the time, whether that's communication, written communication, verbal communication, everything. There's always something each day that you think, I could use that. And that's and I think as an educator, you've got to be passionate about doing that.
If I was running a training school, I would want the people to go away, and when they're at a grooming conference, or, you know, where did you go and train? You say, oh, I'm a Bill Betts groomer, and they go, oh, brilliant. You know, when I was in the police, I would mentor new officers coming in, and we always had, the mentors always had this like reputation. You always wanted them to say, oh, Bill Betts mentored me, and they're like, oh, okay, you're a good egg. But because you always knew other people, and they're like, oh, okay. But that's what you want to strive for, don't you? You're like,
absolutely.
I'm a Bill Betts groomer, I'm a Sarah groomer. You know, you want that name to be out there, and
that passion as well. It's like we have students that will come back to me, because obviously when I was teaching full time, it's like they've got 2 grooming vans, they've got a salon, they've got employees, they've been going for 4 or 5 years, absolutely still loving it. And so when they come to us and say, we've got a couple of students, we're doing a show at Edition Dog Live at the end of August, and we've got apprentices come in, we've got ex-students coming, because they're proud of what they've achieved, and they want to showcase it as well. And the likes of Abby Toogood, say she's a prime example of, came to train at Ball Paws. I was the tutor, just chucking it out there. But again, she has gone on, she's done the competition, she's gained more skill, because again, it is the start of the process, and that's the key. No one can learn.
That's that reality check.
That reality check. It's like they're not going to be show groomers or competition groomers after 25 days, 30 days, 35 days, or whatever it may be. And it's like, it's that continued passion for yourself as well, to be able to say, this is where I can go, this is what I can do. I can learn more about this subject, and that constant learning, and then you can the sky's the limit, really.
Take it anywhere.
So there'll be hopefully there'll be people that are listening to this or watching this and thinking, I'm really interested in the industry, I'd love to come into the industry, or they're searching out for a training provider. What would you say to them to come into iPet? Why would you say come and use an iPet training school?
I think that really just about how those schools have been checked beforehand, and what the processes that they have had to go through to be able to deliver, and also the support that we are offering in the background. I think that they're kind of the key measures. But hopefully, actually, that you know, we hopefully are well known in the industry as being the pet people. We are the ones that do understand how things, you know, evolve. Sarah and I were first ones to kind of write a qualification that recognised crossbreeds in dog grooming, which obviously they've been around absolutely donkey's years, and now we know cockapoos are our bread and butter. So it's being with us hopefully shows that we're quite forward thinking, we're quite innovative in the industry, and that's what you get through our training providers. You get people who are like-minded, who are able to showcase their skills, but also it's that they are all educators, and that's something that we are incredibly passionate about. And I think that if anybody is thinking that they would like to start, you know, at some point becoming a training provider, I would say just get in touch with us now, because we can point you in the direction of we actually have an educators award that really is your kind of your first step. So whether that's that you're thinking training provider 2-3 years down the line, get that under your belt now. There's nothing stopping you. If you've got some time, you know, you can do it in the evenings, it can be done remotely. There's lots of opportunities there. But I think it's getting those skills in before you desperately need them is always advisable, isn't it? You know, so if you've got a little bit more time on your hands and you can stretch that knowledge, we have the educators course, and then that would be opening up your training provider abilities down the line.
And I think with the qualification build as well, as we put so much passion, and also we go to so many consultants for our qualifications. They aren't new, they're not 5 years old, they're not 10 years old. They go through constant reviews and constant improvements. And I suppose that is probably the difference where we are, because we are a small awarding organisation. If something's not working right, well, we can do something
Let's
about
mix it up. Yeah, absolutely.
And I think again that we put so much effort to make sure that the statements are right, the criteria is right, that it's actually it's a real qualification that is
relevant.
Yeah, relevant, meets all the needs of the industry, the learner, and the training providers, because actually that is what we've gone through, a 6-month process to be able to get to that point. And we've had 3 or 4 consultants look at it, and again, all very specialists, to say we do so many qualifications. I think, again, like you've said, Bill, look at the website. You can search by qualification, search what we've got, because again, we've got 40 now. We started just with 3, so it's like there's a lot that we've evolved, and we say we're now going into the equine as well. So, and then you can look at training providers in your area. You can search by area, but again, all I would say for any student, go and have a look at your training provider, speak to them. That they all offer something different. They're not all the same. So if you want a one-to-one training provider, then go look at what services they offer, because that might suit your learning better. Four Paws is a busy salon, a busy school, but we thrive from it because we've got lots of peer-to-peer learning, and that's what we do. So again, it's just not one fits all, because we're all different, we're all human, and we all learn differently. So again, it's having those options, and make sure you just come speak to them face to face or over Teams, because again, that's you've got to get with the tutor.
Yeah, again, us being approachable, that if you're thinking about becoming a training provider, you can find Sarah and I quite easily on Facebook, and we do get people just message us directly about it, just for an informal kind of ask and chat, because we are real people. We want to really support people. So if anybody does want to get in touch, more than welcome to drop us a message.
And where they're gonna, you're always at the grooming shows. What's the next one you're going to be at?
So we're at Edition Dog Live at the end of August, and then we're at Groomfest in September. Yeah,
absolutely. And then our big one is we love Crufts. Like I have to say that we've had a stand there now for over a decade, and Crufts is always the big one, because for us it's just a lovely opportunity to get together and see people. With it being Birmingham, it's quite central, and there's obviously lots going on, so we always have a good time at Crufts.
Yeah, we're back there again.
Yeah, I've got a hotel booked for Crufts, so
good.
Saving up. I feel as I missed out a little bit last year, not having a stand.
Are you gonna have a stand?
So I had a stand with Vicky the year before, and then I didn't have a stand last year, but this year, sorry, I get my years mixed up.
Yeah.
Feels like I missed out a little bit.
Oh, do it, because I have to say that for me personally, I just love seeing everybody in one place, but with all the dogs being there as well, like all the different breeds. Even as somebody who has been in this industry for a long time, you see something, you're like, oh, I love those. You don't see them very often, or and equally, we all like a little glass of fizz to have on the stand too. So just chucking that out there. 4 o'clock's at the stand are always fun. So glad you've got a hotel.
and on a Sunday it's 11.
Yeah, that's it. Absolutely.
So if I was a teacher on my school holidays and thinking I've had enough of this career, where do I go to sort of find out more about becoming a pet groomer with iPet?
Yeah, just head to the website. I think that's the easiest point. Head to the website, www.ipetnetwork.co.uk, and we've got some guides on there about actually how to become a dog groomer, the routes through that, and obviously there's some details then around the qualifications. It'd be then back to, like Sarah said, finding the training provider. You can search by area, but equally we never kind of say you search by area to try and find your closest, although that might be the most convenient. Sometimes that you can look a little bit further afield to find the perfect training provider for you. And we do get people that will travel for that. For example, we have accommodation at Four Paws in Cheshire. We don't in Herefordshire and Kent, but it just depends on people's individual circumstance. So I think that what we try and do is give people a broad option around all the different training providers, and the details are all on the iPet website.
Yeah, and I think you're right in finding somewhere that suits your learning needs, because like you said, a busy salon can be good because you can get in the vibe, you can see how a salon works, but then you might not learn as much if you don't thrive off that sort of busyness. So then you've got one-to-one providers as well, don't you? So.
Absolutely.
And
then also there's and there'll probably be a cost difference in that, is what I was just saying, is that really, again, from people's business points of view, the cost for a training course will not be the same across each training provider. We don't tell them how to set that. What we actually say is that you need to, again, priced to your business and your business model. I would expect that if I was doing one-to-one training, it would be considerably more than if you were in with multiple people. So I think that that's, again, just another consideration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a little bio of each training provider as well, so you can sort of get a feel to, and a link to their own websites as well from the iPet Network website, so you can always sort of read their experience and again what they specialize in, and you might, if you've got a poodle, you might want to go to the likes of Kirsty Hunt up in Newcastle Way, because everybody knows that she specializes in poodles, and you might make that effort to go up that direction, or across the water to our chain providers in Ireland as well, because they've all got their own
Their own
sort of
niche
strengths and
specialities.
weaknesses.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think the cat grooming, we're saying about cat grooming, traveling for that. We've got Heidi down in London there, who's doing the cat grooming, and she's absolutely smashing it, because obviously it's London based. There's lots of pets and cats around there as well. So she's actually set up a separate salon just for cat grooming, which I just think is wonderful, because that really just showed the incline in the market, and that it's an opportunity, and that diversification success. So
Yeah, that's probably something that you want to expand your cat grooming network.
Yeah,
definitely.
absolutely. Yeah, let's say we're the only ones that have got a regulated, Ofqual regulated cat grooming qualification. So, like we've done with dogs, it's that we ultimately want to be that awarding organisation of choice for anybody that wants to get a pet related qualification. And actually, the forefront is iPet, because that's what we specialise in, and then our training providers obviously they come on the journey with us, and that they're ultimately the key to all of this, because it's their delivery, their quality that are out there. But yeah, we want to be that awarding organisation of choice for anybody that wants to do that.
And we're networking so busily in the background that obviously we're trying to do things like this to try and just get that out there for our training providers as well, to actually encourage people about where to look, and to really hold iPet Network as a strong choice when you're looking at those qualifications, or as an endpoint assessor for apprenticeships, because we do want to be for the sector, and we really do want to support everybody. And I think that one of the great stories, I've just mentioned Heidi's name there, but I joined the British Isles Grooming Association, and that was a great door opener for me, is that I met loads of people through that, and equally through the Groomer Spotlight. Stuart and Julie have been absolutely wonderful and supportive about our journey, but also that hopefully we're also giving back and looking at ways that we can support those that have potentially only got not the right qualification that the Spotlight requires, and looking at ways that we can actually support those with a fast track version. And we're doing lots of things like that to try and keep the momentum going forwards.
So where can you see iPet in 5 years' time? I'm thinking iPet International. Have you thought of that?
Well, so the I is international.
International Pet Education and Training is what it stands for. But ultimately, I suppose our vision, our goal is all to do with the environment. I think that's probably where our biggest, conservation, environmental, horticulture, animal care, I think all something to do with, we've laughed about everything to do with the earth, because
the world, natural world.
We're all very passionate
people,
about
animals.
So again, dogs and cats was the starter, I think. World domination
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us. Thank you for giving up your time to
No, it's been lovely.
Thank you, Bill.
The group, and hopefully people will come and see you at your live events, or they'll come and check out your website, and I'm sure we'll catch up soon.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks, Bill. Speak to you soon. Cheers. Bye.
Bye-bye.